it's servers and virtual machines that perform different functions, and they host different data and different types of data. And data here is the driver for the security zones. Why is that? So let's say you have VMs. What makes this VM more important than this VM? They are both VMs. They have computing power. They consume your computing power. They consume your memory, consume your storage. But what makes the difference? Why should I say that this VM is more important than this VM? It's the data. Data is the asset that you should, as a security engineer, focus about. All other assets are supporting assets. So a VM is a supporting, a physical server is a supporting asset. Network appliances, firewalls, all security controls, all of them are supporting assets. The main important asset is the data. So we cannot put the data all in one place and just give it all the same security controls or security level. Why we cannot do that? Why don't I just treat all my network as one security zone and give it maximum protection, and that's it? You're good. Well, a couple of reasons. First, money. You cannot spend all of this money to protect data that doesn't worth it. So in the end, this is a web application server. It's just a web portal. We will put in the DMZ and that's it. I don't implement some cryptographic algorithms over there and provide it with key management system that will cost you operations and more money cost, higher cost, just for a web page. In the end, you can restore it from your back. So this is why we have security zones. As you can see in this slide, actually, if you search on the internet, you will find a lot of security zones, implementations or topologies or whatever you call it. But this one, I believe, is, from my perspective, is the most accurate. So compared to the real world that we have. So first here you have the untrusted zone. This untrusted zone mostly is the internet, okay? And then inside the untrusted zone, you might also have a trusted zone. Let's say you have a remote branch or an extranet or a partner that you're dealing with and you're dealing business to business. So in some way, this is a trusted zone.
Are you creating VPN, for example, here? And can you say VPN?
Yes, you can. A remote branch is connected via VPN. So a specific type of zone can contain subzones, okay? Then you have, I'll leave this aside for now. Then you have your trusted zone, which is basically your internal server farm data center. There you will find your database and your application, your infra services. Then you have this restricted zone. This restricted zone, you will not see it everywhere, but it's out there. So for some deployments, you have to have this zone. Like, for example, if you are a bank and you are implementing PCI DSS. So the credit card information, it has to be kept in some zone that is protected by specific security control that defined by the standard, and it's called a restricted zone. It's inside your network, but not everyone has access to it, and it's very limited access. Then you have a management zone. Management zone are for the administrators who are working in your IT environment. They need to manage all these zones. So the management zones covers all of the other zones. And then you have the audit zone. Audit zone covers everything. Everything should be audited, even the management zone. You should audit who accessed this server, what he did. Yes, you want to say something?
Audit zone also, right? This trusted extranet in the untrusted zone can be audited. I mean, I can audit my branch.
Yes, okay. Correct. I just put it here because I cannot audit the internet. Yes. But your trusted extranet, it's actually considered part of your trusted zone. So both of them are treated the same.
That's why green.
Yes, but this is why they are treated the same. So the audit zone, yes, it will cover the trusted extranet, but it will not cover the untrusted zone. So now we know what are security zones. So why do we need security zones? As we said, we need to define our data. Data, again, is the driver for all of this. It's basically, it starts with data classification. You have to classify your data. So this data is a sensitive data, it should be in the restricted zone. This data is confidential data in the trusted zone. This data is whatever. And then you start gathering all the assets that needs the same security requirement, and then you create your zone. Okay. So the zone actually, it's we create these zones to take control over the traffic applications. So, for example, I can say that the trusted zone can communicate with the internet, but the internet cannot communicate with the trusted zone. So you have to control the traffic flow. Control the management of the trusted zone. Some of the IT administrators might have access to the trusted zone, but they don't have access to the restricted zone. Compliance, some standards, when you try to apply it, they will force you. You have to put these credit card in the restricted zone. Okay, so this is the total. Now, what is this area? I'm sorry.
You want to call it? Yeah.
No. So the semi-trusted zone is what we call DMZ. So what is a DMZ? A DMZ is a part of your network that you don't trust very much. This is why we call it semi-trusted. Why you don't trust it? Because it's exposed to the untrusted zone, which is the internet. So you cannot really trust it, but again, it's inside your network. So this is why it's semi-trusted. So the DMZ zone, you will find some stuff like web services, DNS services, email gateways, and all these published service, whatever published service you have. Now, what is the goal of creating a DMZ? The goal is that you want these servers inside your network but exposed to the internet to be isolated, so that if someone takes control over one of these servers, then he cannot move inside to your data center or your server farm. So is this really the case? This what's happening these days? This is what we see. I'm telling you, I've been in this field so long. I've never seen this.
Never seen what?
Never seen a totally isolated DMZ.
So if somehow compromise DMZ, they can jump, right?
They still have some sort of access to the inside network. Why is that? So let's explain it with the topology here. So here you have, this is your edge firewall, which actually creates your zones, DMZ, at least your edge zones. So here you have, this is the internet, which is the untrusted zone. Here you have the DMZ, which is the semi-trusted zone, and here you have the rest of the zones, which are the trusted and restricted and audit management. Audit management is everywhere. Anyway, so now the traffic comes from the internet to one server in the DMZ. It will hit some sort of a load balancer, then it will send him to one SharePoint server, portal, whatever. But now this server needs to retrieve the data that the user is asking for. So we'll have to go through the firewall
again,
back to the server farm.
Pinpoint. Traffic is hairpinning here.
Yes, this is from performance point of view, but from security point of view, okay, this traffic, for example, it's a database traffic. Okay, so TCP 14331434. Okay, so if a guy takes control of this SharePoint server, he has this port open, right? He can initiate whatever attacks running on these ports for this traffic flow. You can apply this to anything. Like if you have, instead of this SharePoint, you have a DNS. Okay, and he took all of their DNS, then he has DNS access to your internal DNS. If you have an email gateway here, then the email gateway will have access to the inside the email gateway. So it's not really isolated, totally isolated. I've never seen it totally. If someone saw it, please inform me, because I've never seen it. So
There, because you think there is a communication always, and some ports.
There is always communication. Always. You will never find one company that will create a separate database for the SharePoints in the DMZ and another database for its inside services.
Okay.
Right? You need a database for the inside services. You either use one here and one there, or you use one there and it's not working, right? And even if you do that, you will have to sync these databases together. Again, you have the same issue.
Why two separate? Say it is asking. Why two separate database? Are you asking? Say it very fast. You are faster than today in the class.
Why?
No, two separate zones.
I don't understand.
You mean
you have
DMZ zone and trusted zone? Why we have? I think we will talk about that, right? So how we can now, why two separate? This is a good question, because actually the purpose of this today's discussion is this. Can we do somehow collapse? Okay.
In this diagram, there are two separate DMs. Yes, it is. This is the normal topology that we have today in almost every. There are companies that we will talk about that have a different approach, and we will discuss it different. But
this is very common.
This is what we see everywhere, right? So again, there is no point of spending money, because this stuff, it costs money, and load balancers, servers, and actually you will have here hardware servers beside the licenses and all this stuff. This all costs money. It increases the complexity. Instead of managing one zone, you are managing both too. Performance, as you said, because it will be pinning the traffic again to the server farm, back to the DMZ, then back to the user.
Basically, you are increasing latency.
Yes.
Don't forget.
Okay. So
what if this approach?
Yes. So again, this approach is called collapsed DMZ or DMZ Anywhere. Okay, the term DMZ Anywhere was invented by VMware. We had a discussion about this. So, but I believe it's going to be standardized or globalized, or everyone else will use it. Why? Because actually it saves a lot of hassle. These days on your server farms, for example, I've seen a company lately, they have two data centers, and they have an extension, layer 2 extension between the two server farms. So both data centers are acting as one big virtual data center. So why should I use another area for the DMZ and lose all of these capabilities that I have inside? I have a lot of computing power in here that is not used. I have a lot of functions that I can use it for both inside and outside network. So why not just drop the DMZ zone, physical zone, I mean, and create a logical DMZ zone inside the data center? So, and I believe he, okay. So what will we gain from that? What you will gain is that you will save the cost of the physical appliances, as we said. You will reduce the complexity. Performance will be much better because it's all in the same place. You are managing only one place, not two different physical zones. Scalability, you can scale as much as your maximum hardware is taking. So to do that, we need some technologies, right? So these technologies, it's a lot. You can use a lot of technologies to achieve that, but one of the most important technologies is microsegmentation.
Yes. Before you start microsegmentation and the talk, let's talk about cost saving, okay? Yes. Or reduce complexity, better performance, manageability. All of them actually, little bit maybe we can mention, we can talk why. This is a very important question for the network designer. Why cost saving? If I move now and collapse the DMZ and have only one, okay, I can easily understand, everybody can see the better performance because they are more close. You don't need to travel lots of devices, and Yeah, for the delay and latency and jitter probably because of predictability is good. But what about, for example, cost saving? Is there really cost saving here?
Yes,
Why
of
you
course.
think
You
cost saving?
remove the whole physical zone. The DMZ here. It was not just a logical zone. It was
Okay.
a physical zone. It has servers. It has load balancers. It has all
But
the
you bring
hardware.
them
You will
another
not
place
bring
in the
them. You
network,
will
right?
just quit using them. You will virtualize it
Ah,
inside your network.
okay, that's
So
what
this is why
I want
I
to talk.
was talking about the technologies used to achieve this.
Yes. Now
So
we
you
will
have
talk about here virtual appliances, which we can utilize more.
network function
And yes,
virtualization.
at the end of the day, it will bring us cost saving. Okay, virtualization is one driver, right? Also, scalability. Here, we will probably see with the virtual environment scale out approach versus scale up. Okay, like adding more and more CPU memory, etc., and scale up. Instead of doing that, we can scale out the topologies here and using, instead of, let's say, one big giant device, we can use maybe smaller, like containers, those kind of things.
Yeah, but I will not get into containers. So this is the whole point, that already in your server farm you are using giant. You have a lot of computing power over there, and most probably you will not need to buy anything. You will not need to get anything. You will just quit using all this hardware with all its complexity and all its support contracts and all its management overhead, operation overhead, all this stuff, and just put it in there. Okay. Now I'm talking from security point of view. I cannot talk about network while Orhan is sitting. So from security point of view, what was the problem? The problem is that whenever I talk with anyone, some in a consultation or anything, and I see that the guys, they have like HP enclosures in the data center, or they have V blocks and very big computing power in their server farm, but still they are using DMZ outside. And I ask him, why are you doing this? Because it has to be physically isolated, but it's not physically isolated. You are having traffic from DMZ going into your server farm. This is not total isolation. Second, virtualization and logical network segmentation made a very big leap in the past years. We reach now to micro segmentation, which allows you to segment per virtual machine, per VNet, per network card. You can identify that this network card is his own zone, if you like. You can create a whole zone on one NIC card. That's not a problem. And even if there are other appliances with him in the same VLAN, which was the previous limitation that we were facing, that we cannot inspect traffic in the same VLAN because it's layer 2 communication. So we cannot see it. It has to go to a layer 3 gateway. So this limitation is gone. We can use now micro-segmentation. We can just automate it and we can push policies. So why are you using this? No. I want it to be physically separate. One guy, he called me once and he said that his employer, he wants another firewall for the DMZ. So basically, they had a server farm and internal users and outside network going to the internet and an edge firewall. Okay, they have an edge firewall, and he wanted to buy another edge firewall, just put it here and connect it to the internet, and create a DMZ area over here and put it this firewall just for this DMZ area. And I asked him one question: this firewall, this DMZ area will not communicate with the inside. He said, yes, it will communicate. But then why are you doing this one?
That's true, but always trade-offs. And someone was asking trade-offs. What's here the
security trade-offs, you mean? Or
no, actually, exactly. It's now security versus, again, maybe performance, maybe using there for the second device, different vendors, so vendor separation, vendor availability. Those what they think, what their
old
driver belief, right?
We don't do this anymore. Yeah, okay. So the point that Orhan is mentioning, that yes, we need to use two different firewall vendors, and then so if a vulnerability happened on one, let's say you have Cisco, then put Palo Alto or put Juniper, whatever. So if a vulnerability was discovered on one firewall, then the other one will yeah, this doesn't happen anymore. It's already, these firewalls are just out there. And if a vulnerability catches one firewall,
maybe still there might be high availability point of view, something like especially for the routing guys, we talked about these dual planar cores, like one core is OSPF, another core is ISS, but these are real topologies, by the way. Also there are companies still, maybe not today they are implementing for the greenfield, but the companies, they deployed Juniper and Cisco, this separation. They still, of course, they didn't maybe change their environment, etc., but they did.
But this was long time ago. Nobody's doing this anymore.
Yeah, for
but
the
I want to understand your point. Do you mean that they are putting firewalls back to back, or they are implementing an underlay?
No, not underlay overlay, but
no, underlay network. I mean, another network.
Totally separated.
So it's not back to back.
Not back to back. Okay.
So how come, and how complex
if
is that?
Of course, much more complex.
And how are you going?
Another trade-off is that exactly another trade-off is that once you have this separation, yes, definitely gives you availability. But what about how you will manage the complexity? How you will manage the interaction between those two? Because if something fails, how you will manage? Even in the routing design, how you will manage? So these are complex things, but might bring additional, then cost its pros and cons.
Can I debate this availability point?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. Any firewall, you don't just put one appliance there. You you have active standby.
For the 2.2 then.
No. I mean,
so active standby.
Like this guy here, it appears like one firewall.
Yeah, of course. For simplicity, by the way, we have here Edge firewall 1. For example, guys, here on the picture we discussed, we intentionally didn't put internet gateways, other devices, so on and so forth, for simplicity. But of course, there is all the devices, almost always, depends on your business requirement, but almost always for any decent size of network should be redundant. This is a very important point. Yes, I forgot this. By the way, guys, can we have 2 minutes break, please? Okay, we'll continue after 2 minutes.
Battery low.
Yes. Okay, guys, let's continue. By the way, I see many questions. For example, everybody is asking, will this be shared? I will share not only the video, but also these PowerPoint slides later on, okay? And for technical questions, once we finish the discussion, we can answer some of this.
Let's have this one to clear this firewall.
Edge firewall,
traditional
firewall.
We didn't specify which firewall is it. Of course, it's a next generation firewall or an advanced firewall. We are just talking about the topology. It's not about the type of the firewall. As we agreed, we are not talking about specific vendors or a specific type of. But yes, of course, you will have a next generation firewall, and here we will. For example, here you will have a proxy for the people coming from inside the company, going outside with HTTPS interception and inspection and all this stuff. We are just talking about security zone implementation, but security controls and defense in depth and all this stuff, these are all different topics. By the way, in the poll we put some security suggestions. If you have
most
any,
probably
please.
now we can do this. Okay, guys, you will just see Paul. Can you answer those questions, please? So we can prepare. Ahmed can prepare for us for some security topics, especially. Okay. First, please answer this one. What's your background? Enterprise, like university, hospital, airport, public sector, whatever. Service provider, mobile operator. Maybe you are just data center expert or others. So please put your vote here, and I will also ask 2 more questions, which will help for not only security but also any other topics. Today, what you would want to see, what else you want me to discuss with the guys. Okay, go ahead. By the way,
yes.
Just once I finish this vote, actually, there are many comments here, questions, comments. Some of them probably we will go through. And
okay, let's.
It seems lots of enterprise guys, and the person is service provider here.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Now another one. What are the other security topics you would like to watch? I think this one is multiple answer. You can choose more than one. So basically, we are considering to create something and discuss about this topic. So which one should be first? Based on your vote, we will go through and prepare. Okay, and building a security career. We were thinking like even the certification will be there, right?
Yes, yes.
Like CCIE security, those kind of stuff. You can ask also those questions. Ahmed, as I said, preparing the questions before doing this CCD trainings, I used to prepare CCD questions. Now, of course, I stopped. Probably Ahmed we'll teach some security classes. Let's see, or data center security, data center and cloud security. Once we talked about this, so there are some differences, of course,
a lot,
and we will highlight those, and we can discuss infrastructure security, like first top security, perimeter security, maybe DDoS attacks, how we can protect with the RTBH, with the flow spec, those kind of things. What's the pros and cons, those kind of things. Guys, there are many things actually, but which one would you like to see first or more? Okay, put your vote. Okay, let's also close this one. Was this people more interested on data center security? Okay. Data center security than infrastructure security, it seems.
Nobody is interested about the
security career.
No, cloud.
Cloud also like this.
Everybody hates cloud.
They like SDN. Okay, what about this last one? Which topic would you interest more? Like routing protocols, design point of view, probably, right? MPLS, security topics, virtualization, SDN and FE. We will not go and configure or deep dive bit and byte level, any of them, high level, which I can share some inputs. Then basically we can have a time for Q&A and real life deployment also I can mention, and most probably for each and every webinar there will be other guests, for example, who deployed SDN on their network for in the service provider environment. Or virtualization, probably much more common. So, but what are the especially evolving technologies in that? Unfortunately 5 options there was, and I couldn't put many other things. But you can send me always orhan@orhanergun.net feedback. Like IoT can be there, many other things. You can send me feedback, and we can discuss. Also, this one, it seems SDN and FE, you see.
Yeah.
And routing protocols is the last one.
Actually, security is the biggest topic.
Security, but unfortunately, votes are not showing.
But you put one option for security and 4 for network.
Whole.
Now calculated the other way around.
Even that, SDN 82%. Nobody can win SDN now.
Yeah.
Nowadays, we have to talk about SDN. Okay, guys, let's close this and let's continue our technical topic now. Then we can go through some questions.
So the point is that you have multiple computing. You have a lot of computing power in your data center, and you are using another area with another physical segmentation for something else that you don't need it actually. So the trade-offs from security point of view, actually, with the new technique, and if you ask me this question 10 years ago, I'll tell you definitely you cannot do that. But now, with all the technologies that we have, especially micro-segmentation, it's actually doable. And virtualization, of course, plays a very big part in this. Let's say you have ESX hosts inside, you can create a cluster of ESX hosts and identify this cluster as DMZ, and then control all the rules from this DMZ cluster to the other clusters that you will create for different other zones. And you have everything in one place. You're managing everything. Let's say if you're using VMware, you have one vCenter managing everything. You don't need to scatter your network all the way around. Operational costs goes higher. Manageability is much harder. Scalability. These DMZ zones, from what I've seen in the real life, they don't have much computing power. You will find like one ESXi host or Cisco C server, C series server, or whatever HP or Dell server, and that's it. What if this server fills up? What you are going to do? You are going to buy another server? Why buy another one? You have a lot of computing power that you're probably not using. Even at the highest I have seen, maybe they are not using even 60-70% of their server farm computing power. The rest is free. You can use it, but you have to use it right. You have to apply segmentation correctly. You have to configure access control correctly. You have to configure the traffic flows and directions of the traffic. You have to configure it correctly. It has to be like you are treating this cluster as a DMZ, but it's inside your network.
Okay. What about segmentation? Micro-segmentation, we were discussing that.
Yeah, so micro-segmentation as a technology, it's as we discussed before, that before micro-segmentation, the deepest we can go was a VLAN. So you can segment logically per VLAN. So VLAN 2 has and VLAN 3, and VLAN 2 is the database servers, VLAN 3 is the application servers, and then you have the web servers and the DMZ, whatever. So to control the traffic, you can control it between the application VLAN and the database VLAN, for example, but you cannot control it between the application server
in the same VLAN.
In the same VLAN, yeah. Because to inspect the traffic, you have to push it to the gateway, which is your firewall or IPS or whatever. So, but within the same VLAN, they are communicating layer 2. It's MAC address to MAC address.
Okay.
I'm not going in there.
No. The technical questions we can take, and I can answer those questions.
Topic,
answer very fast those questions. Okay. VLAN, VXLAN, differences, those kind of things.
So this is the whole. So actually, as a security trade-off, if you implement it right, it's more security risk. Please explain how in the chat, and I will. So if you implement it right, actually you are reducing a lot from. Don't forget that everything relies on your business requirement, and the first requirement from the business is cost saving and better performance. Security, biggest trade-off is performance. The more security you have, the less performance you will get, and there is nothing you can do about that. the packets. There are more tasks um, uh, that are done on the packet itself more than routing and switching. If the packet is not only routed and switched, no, the packet is intercepted by your proxy and it's decrypted and it's inspected and policies are applied and rules are applied and then encrypted again and then sent to Google to decrypt it and decrypt it, and all of this stuff takes from the performance. All of this stuff causes delay. But so removing one zone from the area is really a very good idea from performance point of view. From security, as I explained, I can apply the policies per network card. Microsegmentation, let's take, I don't know, we should involve a vendor here. Anyways, so
give name, no problem.
NSX or Cisco ACI, for example. NSX, what happens is that NSX, it distributes an agent to each virtual machine. And this agent, it actually relies on the VNIC level. VNIC is the virtual NIC of the virtual machine. So this agent is there, and this agent is controlled by the NSX manager. You configure your policies on the NSX manager, and it gets pushed to this agent. So each VM is treated as its own zone. You can configure a policy for each VM. Of course, it's very big hassle, but it's doable. So as a security, actually, inside is much better with microsegmentation, of course.
Okay.
And to deploy microsegmentation, by the way, in the DMZ, it will be a very high cost because you will have NSX is VMware, because you will have to deploy NSX over there, and this stuff doesn't come cheap. But most of the people now are deploying some similar technologies in the data center that provides microsegmentation, and they're just not using it. They are throwing again another physical zone over there, and you are controlling it.
By the way, your slides are over now.
Yeah.
Okay, will you take the questions, or do you want to talk anything about this?
If you have any clarification you think we need to do.
I think now let's get some questions, and based on their questions, we can talk like 15 minutes more, guys. Let's get your questions now. There was many questions. Let me go through very fast. I will choose the easiest one. Okay, please provide. Okay, presentation video. You will get that. It should be multiple. Should just say enterprise data center. Okay, building a security carrier.
Can I
Let's
one
go.
second?
Okay.
Just I will add one thing. Guys, if you didn't have a chance to answer here, or if we didn't answer your question, this is my email. You can email me. Of course, you have Orhan Ergun's email. I know that you guys know. So you can email me anytime or add me on LinkedIn and just send your question. I'll be happy to answer. But now we will try to answer, but there is a lot.
Yes.
I cannot see.
Security shouldn't be reduced to firewall only. I think this is good discussion to talk.
Man, we explained this, and we said that the topology that we put over there, it's not all the security controls that we are implemented.
Okay.
It's just that the firewall is the.
What should be there then? If firewall is not enough, what should be there? IPS, IDS, load balancer. What else?
We can keep that for the infrastructure security.
Okay, let's keep that for the infrastructure security. We can put that one. The type of devices, common ones, evolving ones, how we deploy them, etc. With the topology, and we can also talk that one in a separate discussion. Okay, what else? Very fast, let me go. Human security option. This is
human security.
What's this? Human security option. I didn't know if there was before something, but human factor in security. Let's say human factor in security, human factor in network design. Very important. Like especially once you put the human,
you screw everything.
Exactly. Because guys, the biggest today we have lots of network failures. People might try to protect the failure from the availability point of view. Link failure, node failure, device failure. But actually the biggest one is mistake. caused by mistake, human mistake. That's why this SDN, NFV, or at least the centralized management, like with the VMware or with the NSX, for example, if you can push the policy without configuring each and every device manually, this is good. So human should be really.
Yeah, but I believe he has a different.
If there is different perspective,
you are
your
talking about
question.
IT admins, no? Yes.
Otherwise, if you bring the people, if
no,
somehow
you are talking about IT admins.
of course, like women.
Yeah. Okay. This is a very good point, by the way. Automation provides baseline for the. So you configure one virtual machine with all security controls, for example, antivirus and firewall, and any virtual machine that is going to be created after that will have the same security control. So you are removing the human error of the IT admin. But I believe he's talking about employees.
I don't know, but this is
okay.
This point I wanted to raise. Okay, what else? Let me go through very fast. Companies has mixed environment, physical and virtual servers. You just say that, of course.
Yes.
And
there are ways to provide.
Do you think 100% virtualization is necessary for the security appliances, etc.?
100 what?
100% virtualization is doable, or
no,
do you still require physical devices today?
No. You can. Most of the security controls right now comes in virtual form. So even proxies.
And the big discussion on that was okay, with the virtual you cannot have the same performance level, etc. But today,
but now computing
power is increasing day by day. We know that. And but still, the most common environment people have virtual and physical, yes. And also for the physical one, especially people used to believe database servers should be physical, etc. Nowadays, we see database servers as virtual as well, without problem.
SAP HANA is virtual,
of course. And what else? Let me go through. How virtual firewalls will work? Do you think we should talk on this one, infrastructure security, or do you want to talk something?
Just fast. Virtual firewalls are same as physical firewalls, by the way. They are same capabilities. If you get a Palo Alto firewall virtual machine, it's the same as the same functions you have there as the physical one. One difference is the usage of them. So physical firewall, you'll probably put it in the perimeter. You don't want to get a UCS there and use 2 NIC cards and that's it. And it's not practical to do that. But so for a long time in the future, I believe the edge firewalls will still remain as hardware. But in the data centers, yes, we use virtual.
Also, let me add very fast one thing. Virtual firewall and the virtualized firewall are the different things. Okay, like physical firewall can be virtualized.
Yes.
Your physical firewall with the virtual context, etc., can be virtualized, but the virtual firewall which Ahmed defined is different thing. Okay. Another side note. Another question.
This red one.
Which one?
The red one.
You like that? you want to talk about? Okay, this one.
Yeah.
Can you please tell us the logical segmentation of zones? Once again, please. Logical segmentation of zones, very fast. Do you want to say something?
Yeah, the zones, as we discussed earlier, it's a group of assets that has the same security requirement and access control requirements. So this group, to provide segmentation for these groups, you need two most important things are the logical or physical segmentation, depends, and access control, who will access what. So logical and versus physical segmentation, this one we discussed, and we showed that it can be done virtually right now. In the past, we couldn't, but now.
Should the DMZ servers be connected? This is the question. Be connected to the firewall via switch, or can they be connected directly to the firewall? Should the DMZ server? Any consideration for the direct connection?
It's just a port.
It's a port, and by the way, you will have lots of DMZ server, and you will not find that port on the firewall.
But if you have one server and you want to connect it directly to the firewall,
and by the way, switch when you connect it, you don't want that switch to be only single point of failure. Be careful about that for the high availability. It will not add extra latency. Don't worry about that. It's micro second.
Yeah, some companies
and even less, of course. Yeah.
So if he has only a server,
okay. If you cannot afford that switch, and probably they don't have lots of DMZ server, maybe one.
Yeah, one.
You connect that.
Yeah,
okay, no problem. Connect. If that really small environment, you can connect. And what would be the advantage of that? Because now no advantage, okay, for the decent size of environment, but availability again. If let's say if you have just 1-2 servers, DMZ server, and connect to the firewall, definitely if you bring only one switch, it will create extra layer of extra one layer, like switching layer, and that one switch will create single point of failure. If that switch goes down, you will lose the availability, you will lose the reachability to the DMZ server, etc. So you would want to add 2, and that second one will be another cost for you. Okay, and what else? Is it worth doing CCD? What is this? This is for me, I think. CCD in this area where SDN NFV never
in this area?
never protocols are flourishing. Yes. Still, you need to understand your underlay network, how it works, how you should design it, because you will not remove everything, and from scratch you will not build this network. So you need to understand how the underlay works. Then on top of that, if you are doing SDN NFV for optimization, for new services, whatever the use case, you need to first understand your design. So underlay design, overlay design, their interaction, which I mention always in the class, right? Interaction. Then it's not also bad to study to work on SDN as well, because SDN is real, guys. So and there are lots of benefits, especially you can easily see the centralization versus decentralization. If you are a network designer, you can understand what I'm saying. All these pet computation problems and I don't know, bean packing problems, deadlock problems, all those stuff because of decentralization. So yeah, and also human factor I just talked about, and you can remove the human factor with the automation component of SDN, etc.
And how are they going to work?
Yeah, and
if you remove the human factor, nobody is going to work.
Another question: what's the recommended option for filtering content when using a DMZ? Should an IPS be installed in addition to firewall for connections from DMZ to the trusted networks?
Yes, of course. It depends on what services you are using in the DMZ and what are the types of the traffic flows. So if you have like application traffic going inside, yes, of course. So this is part of the defense in depth topic.
Defense in depth, right? Okay.
Yes. So you apply your security control as, for example, if you have a web application firewall and a web server in the DMZ or even in the inside. So web server, you need to protect it. How do you protect it? You need a web application firewall. IPS is not enough on its own for a web application. So this is defense in depth. You have to analyze your network, know what are the types of the traffic, where are they initiated from, and where is the destination, and then apply your security control as per this traffic.
And what level of security really you are looking for, right? So you said web application firewall. Many companies maybe they don't need, but what they are really trying to protect sensitivity of the data, so on and so forth. What else? The protocols are the same. There is only a conceptual discussion about how network protocols should be managed. Yes. Okay. And CCD covers SDN and NFV in the evolving technology section of the written exam. That's true. And some evolving technologies also in the practical exam, like cloud, for example. Okay. And more will come into the practical exam as well. Virtual firewall has throughput issue. Okay. Specialized ASIC has higher throughput, but there is a question mark. So, what is maximum firewall throughput? Virtual firewall throughput?
Yeah, actually, I was just today discussing with some vendor. They have a 6 gig.
Maximum, they claim that they have 6 gigs.
Yes.
Okay. So, and yeah, they have throughput issue compared to the.
Remember one thing: virtual firewall goes per host.
Goes per host.
So
okay.
each ESXi host, for example, if you have ESXi or if you have UCS blades or whatever, each host has one virtual firewall for it.
So we will have basically
you have 6 gigs
per
for the traffic going to this host amount, or the traffic.
But per host, not per VM. Per host, okay. Okay, and can you do a deep dive design and configuration of a recommended DMZ and firewall design class? Would be right nice. Like, okay, this is the firewall, but deep dive mean what? Configuring, etc. No, Benedict.
We can do in the infrastructure security deep dive in infrastructure security.
Okay, in the infrastructure security.
It will not be one.
Probably we can put other. Yeah, it will not be probably 1 hour, 2 sessions. Like we can put there some IPS load balancer, etc. And where, for example, we will decrypt the traffic and then inspect the traffic, then encrypt again. Then let's say once you send the packet to the proxy and do all this decryption, encryption operation, exactly. And then we can where it should go. Would we use routing protocols between them? Those kind of things we can talk.
Yes.
Okay, and last couple questions, then we will finish. Okay, and if we should accelerate deployment of virtual firewalls, and if we should, yes, definitely. You want to add something? Just add. However, maintenance network is sniffable under DMZ.
I don't understand what is this. What does it mean by that?
Sniffable.
Tell me if you understand the question.
Yash, can you please elaborate? What are you trying to ask? Which do you prefer, firewall service card or appliance device?
Depends.
Depends on what?
Depends on your deployment. See, if I have a switch. But firewall service modules, nobody, and FWSM, I believe it's gone. I believe it's even end of sale or something like that. But again, if there is a core switch and you want to put a firewall over there, yeah, service module is better than another appliance that you will put outside of the switch and send traffic over there.
Performance, for example?
Not only performance, you will let the firewall act as a layer 3 gateway.
And device already
firewalls really doesn't like routing a lot. they are not routers in the end, so we try to decrease that. So service module deals with VLANs directly. It's much better in this case. So it depends on your.
But then why it's end of sale or end of life, whatever?
Because it's
just marketing budget.
I'm not sure about this end of
technical
sale,
point of view.
I remember.
Technical point of view, would you say that?
No, I know still big customers here. Even I know a lot of big customers. They are still using the FWSM, yes, and it's very powerful. I'm not against it, but I think it's
okay.
New deployments, yeah, you will not see it in a green deployment.
Okay. To the same for firewall, it's still a single point of failure for the server connected to it.
You mean if you don't use a switch? Yes.
Yeah, but at least you are not paying for those switches, right? You are removing it.
Switch,
yeah, that's why. If they put that one, then they need to also put the second one.
If you put the yes.
Okay, what else? We'd like to see much of this design and configuration. Okay, what's the next generation firewall? What's the adding value?
Okay.
Next generation firewall, some new services, those kind of things. Very fast.
That's
no problem.
It's very big actually. So it started as UTM, Unified Threat Management. Okay, and it was started actually I believe by FortiGate in 2000 something, and then came the big guys and they wanted to go, but already taken by FortiGate, so they put the next generation firewall, and then they said, okay, next generation firewall is for enterprises and medium businesses, and the UTM is for small and medium business, but both are same functions. So basically, the traditional firewalls are packet filtering with stateful firewalls, so they are layer 3, layer 4 firewalls. The next generation and UTMs, they added additional functions to the firewall, like intrusion prevention systems, antivirus, etc., etc. Some of them even have a web application firewall and proxies, URL filtering, you name it. So they put it on one appliance instead of using multiple appliances. And actually, I have a lot of issues with this approach, but that's
yeah. Actually, this is even another 1 hour discussion probably. Putting all this function in one big device, or separating the functions. But there are pros and cons in each model, by the way, guys. It's not so far. Probably we never said this is the best. So you will not hear from us like this is the best. You shouldn't hear from any security network, whatever the architect. Okay. So it depends on always the
see, if it's a small environment and he wants to put one appliance, okay, no problem, put it in one appliance. But if it's a big enterprise, then you might reconsider.
Okay. And that's it. What do you want to say?
Nothing. Everyone? I was happy to be with you today, Orhan, and I hope this has been informative for you guys. And I would like to thank you all for attending. And if you have any questions or any other explanation, you can email me or email Orhan. You have the email in front of you. And thank you.
Thanks, guys, and see you in the next webinar.
He's asking about the video.